Hey guys, back again. Number 2 video as promised. Thanks for all your responses. Thanks for everybody watching the first video. Hope you like this one. Gonna do it a little shorter this time. Hopefully you guys all enjoy it. First stories I want to tell is about a couple of animals we used to have. We've had animals in the past. One in particular we had gotten from our oldest daughter's father. It was kind of a surprise. Just went over to visit and surprise, here you go, here's a cat. Wasn't really excited about it, but one day she got outside and disappeared. We didn't know where she went. About 3 to 4 days later, we had to go get our vehicle checked out. We had some things going wrong with it, so we drove from Owendale to Pigeon to the auto mechanic shop. And while they're back there checking out our vehicle, the mechanic comes out and says, "You need to come here. We've never seen this before. We've heard of it, but we've never seen it with our own eyes." Now, going to get your vehicle fixed, that is one thing you don't want to hear your mechanic say. So I walk out there into the shop, and they got the hood open, and I look under the hood, and I'm going, what's wrong? And lo and behold, there's the cat that was missing for 3 days, alive, sitting under the hood. Now, the mechanic asked me, can you get her out? No. Because one of his other mechanics below him tried to get her out, tore up her arm. I seen him walk by, blood all up and down her arm, or his arm, sorry. The cat was a female. So I go to get our oldest daughter and said, come here, I need you. So everybody, the whole family happens to walk out, and the cat's growling at everybody, but as soon as she turns the corner and sees her, she says her name, cat walks out, crawls into her arms, put her in the van, she was fine. But the funniest thing about it is that she wouldn't let anybody touch her other than our daughter, and if she climbed up on your lap, you didn't move. Because if you did, you were hit. She'd attack. Another cat we had, he was pure white when we got him, when his mother first had him as a baby. And as he got older, he seemed to get more and more dirty, and he seemed to hate baths more and more. And one particular day when he wasn't white anymore, so we decided we had to get him cleaned up because he was such a pretty cat when he was white. And I had never seen anything like this happen before. I've seen it with kids. Now everybody always says that animals will mimic your children or mimic you, and in this instance he did. Carrying him to the bathroom, we got to the bathroom door, and he heard the water running in the bathtub, and he knew. He took his paws and grabbed onto the doorway like this and would not let me get him in. There was no way in the world I could get him in. I ended up having to give him a sponge bath because he just would not go in the bathroom. He wouldn't even go in there at all by himself, let alone to go in there for a bath. A couple weeks ago, I was talking to my son. My son and I were out and about, and he says, Dad, you're really lucky. And I said, what do you mean? And he says, you're lucky that that you have mom. And I said, how so? Well, because you're fat. Thanks, son. Thanks for calling me fat. But so I explained to him. I said, as funny as it was in the moment, I said, it doesn't matter what you look like. It matters what's on the inside. And he says, yeah, but you got with her when you were skinny and in school. And, she stayed with you this long, and now you're fat, but if you would have tried to get with her now, you wouldn't be able to get her because you're fat. And I'm like, son, quit calling me fat, I mean, I know I'm big, I know that. But to have your kid come to you and tell you that if it wasn't for being with your wife for 15 years, you wouldn't be with anybody, you'd be alone. So, thanks for that. I really appreciate that. I think that's funny. At one time, we were living in a trailer in Gagetown, and my wife was off working, and I was home with the oldest daughter. And I was sitting there watching TV, and I noticed that I didn't hear her anymore. So I went looking in her bedroom. She wasn't there. I went and looked in our room. She wasn't there. I noticed that the bathroom door was closed. So I opened the bathroom door, and we had this long sink that extended from the bathtub all the way over to the wall where the door is. And it was double sinked, and the long counter, and she's standing on it. And my first instinct was to go and get her off it. So I'm like, what are you? And as soon as I took a step in the bathroom, my foot slipped up. I went from being standing to on my back, slid across the floor, smacked my head on the bathtub. This little girl, she runs across the sink, jumps off the counter into the hallway where it's carpeted, and takes off running. I'm cussing and screaming because I'm on the floor and I can't get up. I look like one of them guys that's, you know, in the comedy films that, you know, they put oil all over the ground and you can't get up. You know, that it was very frustrating. My wife walks in the door and she comes in and she comes to walk in the bathroom to tell her, no, don't step in here. What had actually happened is she had taken shampoo and lotion and conditioner and hand soap and spread it all over the floor. And then got up on the counter and waited for me to come in there. She set a booby trap. This little girl has grown into a teenager now, and still, you can see when the wheels are spinning. Sometimes I swear she's evil. I told you a little story about the pig barn that I worked at before, and I have another one. You know, we used to take the kids in to see the pigs, and my younger daughter liked to see the older pigs, the big mama pigs. She was really fascinated with them, as I was when I first started working there, because the only pig that I had ever seen was, you know, on the movies, this little pig. And then you walk in and see a 600-pound sow staring at you. It's kind of amazing. Well, so when we took my oldest son in for the first time to see the pigs, he had never seen a pig in his life. And so we went over to the side of the barn where the babies were, and my friend that was working with me, he grabbed one of the babies and brought it out into the hallway because my son wouldn't go into the room with all the adults that had the babies on them. So he brought one of the babies out in the hallway, and it was all of probably this big. And it looked at my son and snorted once, and my kid bolted. I mean, these barns are just like a maze of hallways, and he took off screaming like a girl. I mean, high-pitched horror girl scream, running through the barns, going this way and that. Every door you open has pigs in it, except for the shop where we fixed the gates and stuff. And we ended up finding him in there cowering in a corner because he was scared of a pig he was probably 10 times bigger than. I couldn't believe he ran that fast. My last two that I'm going to leave off with today are, you know, earlier I talked about how my son called me fat. Now I've got a couple stories about how nice a mother and a wife can be to you. You know, my mom one day, she was telling me, you know, you'd really be good to be on the radio. You should be a radio DJ. And I'm like, why do you say that? Well, she says to me, you have a face for radio. Didn't think nothing of it until 2 weeks later. We're driving down the freeway from, I think, Flint to come up here for something. And I seen a billboard with the current 102.5 radio DJ on it, dressed in drag, all uglied up. And it says, now this guy has a face for radio. And I laughed. And then thought back and said, wait a minute. That's what my mom said to me. And I looked at my wife and said, she was calling me ugly. Wasn't she? My wife just laughed because she knew what it meant when my mom said it to me. But did she let me in on the joke? No. So, you know, these two seem to like to gang up on me from time to time. And another story that goes along with that is my wife's uncle had passed away years ago. And shortly after, we were driving around and she says to me, you know, one thing that my uncle taught me that I'll never forget. And I said, yeah, what's that? She says, he told me, always marry the ugly ones, so no one will want to steal them away from you. And I'm like, oh, you know, that's a really good philosophy. And we're driving down the road, and I just kind of let it roll off my shoulder until a few minutes later, I'm like, wait a minute. Marry the ugly ones? We're married. What are you trying to say? You know, she's laughing. She's, you know, and not once did she say, oh, no, honey, I'm not talking about you. So, you know, funny things. Yeah, it's comical, you know, we all laugh and everything, but sometimes it makes you wonder what people really think about you. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed it. Keep tuned to 989 Comedy Channel on YouTube, and we'll see you soon. God bless. See you later.